and welcome back to the Global UAV podcast. Again, with me, I have Mike Burns, the CEO of Global UAV. Hi, Mike. How are you, and where are you?
Hi, Trevor. Thanks. I am in Regina, Saskatchewan right now.
And you and I tried to connect over the last couple of days, but were unable due to your, very incredible schedule. And can you tell everybody what your schedule was like this past week?
Yeah, it was. It's been a really busy week between James and I crossing the country raising money, and also operationally, I've been probably 5 days of travel and in a different state or province each time. It's been a really exciting time for Global. It's very busy. We have a lot of stuff on the horizon, and there's some really good developments happening right now that are a reflection of us having assembled the group of companies that now has a larger reach than any of the singular entities used to. So that's an exciting change to see happening within the company.
That's good. Earlier this week we announced $1 million private financing with Red Cloud. What will the capital from that financing be used for, Mike?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that we're fielding a lot from current investors, but also prospective people and groups that are interested in investing in the company. What we have at Global, like I just mentioned, is last year the focus was on acquisitions and assembling a group of companies that together are a lot more valuable working than any singular entity would be on its own. Now that we've done the heavy lifting of that, and James and I have implemented some structural changes to those companies, we've supported them, we've put some investment in, and we're starting to see the payback. What we have now is the opportunity to put some more strategic investment into those subsidiaries to really accelerate the growth and bring this vision to fruition. So the money that we're raising is going into reinvestment into the subsidiaries mainly to do things like marketing, increase in which will have a direct increase on sales. We'll have new equipment, expand capacity, and really start to bring together what we can do as a group of companies versus having a singular entity. So the cash will be used for those types of investments and purchases. What we've seen in the past is that whenever we put money into a subsidiary, we get a really solid return out of it. So Pioneer Aerial, for instance, when that was acquired, we put $100,000 into the company, and that year it turned $1 million in revenue as a result of that investment. So if you can strategically position the money where it will have the largest return, all of a sudden you can do things like being first to market in certain industries, a service or a product, and you can bring awareness about what you're doing to new markets. So we can have some capital to fund things like expanding into new jurisdictions. We saw success with that in South America, in the U.S., Central America, and now we're looking at areas like Africa and Europe, which we have some inroads into already. So that's kind of mainly what the money will be used for, versus just straight operating capital for the parent company. The cash raise is going to go directly into expanding the company.
Oh, that's great, Mike. And as the marketing director for Global UAV, may I say I'm selfishly excited about this placement and having some marketing fun. So I look forward to that. I do want to ask you. We constantly have been getting questions from shareholders and other industry professionals about BVLOS in Canada, and this is a topic that continues to come up. Can you share any updates with the BVLOS standards in Canada today?
Sure. So Transport Canada recently release the results of an application process that was to select 4 companies to participate in trials or test trials of BVLOS operations in Canada. Global UAV was a participant in the application process. However, we were one of the runners-up. We didn't get selected. But what's important to note is that the companies that did get selected and the decisions that were made, Global is very supportive of that. We had a really strong application. One of the key differences, though, that we'd like our investors to understand is that the other companies that were selected are very strong participants as well. However, Global's in a unique position relative to them. We're currently doing, plus $1 million in revenue a year from our services companies that are flying within VLOS or visual line of sight operations. So what this says is that our business and our structure is not dependent on getting beyond visual line of sight to make a successful business and to generate revenue. We're really lucky in that effect because some of the other companies out there, they do require BVLOS in order to make money and to be profitable and to grow. What we're really excited about is this shows that Canada in general is proactive in developing these regulations and moving the industry towards this ecosystem of allowing for beyond visual line of sight flights. It's a long process. It's going to be 2 years of trials. As a company, we're excited because we will get to reap the rewards of other people's work in this respect. But at the same time, we're still developing the technology, and we're still working towards doing trials, and being part of that is a benefit. So overall, it's a really positive step forward for the UAV industry in Canada and globally. I hope it'll position, Canadian operators and technology developers in the lead worldwide for BVLOS type technology. So it's an exciting step, and global, it is benefiting from that overall.
Well, and even if it would have been nice to be a part of that core group of companies working on that research, but I think the value add, if it's safe to say, is we are not obligated to pay for the expenses to do that direct research with Transport Canada now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. So rather than spending a lot of money on being one of the guinea pigs in this scenario, we're able to focus our efforts on making money. And when the regulations begin to shift towards allowing more routine commercial beyond visual line of sight flights, we'll be ready, and we'll be able to reap the rewards from it. But we also will be in a very strong position of having existing capital and experience from elsewhere. So the other side of this is that there are jurisdictions worldwide where BVLOS flights can happen right now. You see this happening with companies like Zipline in Africa, and Brazil and other areas where there is the possibility for us to go and operate BVLOS flights. So we're not held back by being able to do it. We have a different model to get there. But the biggest key is the safety aspect and the technical ability to show that once BVLOS flights are routine, there's a lot of challenge to get from where we are today in the UAV industry to there. So it's going to be a big step forward for the industry on a technology side, on a regulation side. So there's a lot of work that has to be done before we see routine drones flying overhead with no operator in sight. Right. But this is a good step forward. So we're excited about it.
Very good. And you had mentioned Transport Canada a number of times, and to kind of go back to Transport Canada, Hi Aerial business under our survey division actually received some really good news from Transport Canada this week.
That's right. Both Hi and Pioneer, so our two services companies, have national SOC, so we are able to fly throughout Canada day and night, which is a benefit from a services perspective. Obviously, that's within the current regulations, but it's a great opportunity for us to have that operational ability Canada-wide, and it's really a testament to the value and the professionalism of the two companies as operators, to be able to have this license to be able to fly across the country.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll just go down the line, and you mentioned two of the companies under Global UAV. Let's talk about a third. Let's talk about Novarial, because earlier this week we shared some information on some refinements that Robert and his team at the shop have made on the ProScion 800E. Can you describe what these improvements are on the unit?
Sure. So there's been some exciting developments there, and we have a really strong engineering team at Nova Aerial. It's a small group of very talented and highly respected aerospace engineers, software guys, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers that are there. And we took essentially the version 1 of the ProScion, and we said, okay, how can we improve this? And it was hard to do because it was such a great system to begin with. But some of the things that we've done and we focused on were flight efficiency, and that comes down to things like rotor blade design and how can you pull every ounce of efficiency out of the system. So changing rotor blades and using a new type, we were able to get a 15% efficiency increase in flight. One of the other changes that we've done is material changes. So material and manufacturing side in terms of changing the plastics types that we're printing with and the printing methods and a bit of the design. We're able to shave a third of a kilogram of weight off of the system. So if you look at a man-sized helicopter, 300 grams isn't very much, but when you're dealing with a UAV, that's a significant percentage of weight, and that means we can carry almost half a kilogram more of payload under the same power and have the no decrease in flight time because of it. Mm-hmm. So these are really exciting things. There's more cool improvements coming down the road, but from the marketing and from the comparison to other systems out there on the market, the Nova Aerial helicopter is really an industry-leading innovative drone that we're extremely excited to bring to market.
And I wanted to talk about Pioneer real quick, and we've been pretty fortunate to a number of clients that Pioneer have done geophysical survey work with the UAV Mag have actually released news releases of their own, speaking about those partnerships. So I'm just curious, where are Pioneer crews currently?
So we had crews just return from Guatemala. We've had guys come back from Saskatchewan, from Quebec. We're headed down to Argentina. We have work lining up in Peru. We've got a lot of contracts and a lot of stuff all over the world happening. So it's a very busy company. There is a significant increase of that that business after the air acquisition has now been kind of solidified, and we're moving forward with that increased capacity, mm-hmm. which is exciting. And what we're seeing is with the management of air coming on and transitioning in, they're bringing some really good processes and procedures and and health and safety controls and things that will really benefit Pioneer in the long term. One of the exciting aspects is the increased exposure to major mining companies. We had a really pretty high pedigree list of past clients just through Pioneer Aerial, and that continues to grow now that with the combination of air. So it's a really exciting time for the company, and the growth there has just been phenomenal.
And I think that's a really good point that probably deserves a little bit of clarification, Mike. So is it safe to say that the acquisition of Air is final and things are moving all as one?
Yeah, so the definitive has been signed. The actual closing of the deal, it depends on how you look at it, but it could be until all the shares are transferred and the hold is off, or all the cash payments are made. But in reality, the two companies are combined and they're working together now, and they're under the Global UAV umbrella. Okay. So it is a really successful acquisition and also a really successful transition. The Air team and the Pioneer team have pretty much seamlessly integrated with each other, and we're seeing some real benefits from that, both in terms of flight training and experience on the operational side, but more importantly, increased capacity on the management side. We're running a company with between 12 to 15 people in the field producing, this year I think we're on track probably to do double what we did last year in revenue, just looking at the quarterly so far. And to have basically a company of that scale being run really by two people in the office is pretty phenomenal in terms of how lean our overhead is, but also how responsive we are in being able to go after opportunities and secure them. Mm-hmm. We've been competitive on bids where we compete with other companies, so we're winning contracts where we're in competition, but we're also one of the few companies that's offering drone mag survey services that is willing to travel anywhere internationally. Mm-hmm. So we have a very strong regulations team, and that's allowing us to say yes when people come to us and say, can you do a survey in Peru? Can you do a survey in Argentina? Can you come over to Africa? We have a really, really solid network globally of service providers and of colleagues in the industry, and our reputation really speaks for itself. So when mining companies want drone services or drone mag done, we're the name that comes to the top of the list, both in geophysics, but now also in remote sensing in terms of LiDAR, photogrammetry, digital elevation modeling. And that's come from the structural changes that we put in place with HiEye. So it's a really exciting change.
One question that we've received through the investor relations email is bringing on the personnel from Air. Will they be brought on to Pioneer as full-time employees or consultants? And what will those salaries look like?
So I can't comment on the direct salaries that people are being paid, obviously, and on the structure of it. But what I can say is that with the transition, Peter Dueck, who was formerly the chief geophysicist of Hudbay, which is a mid-tier multinational mining company, Peter is the new president of Pioneer Aerial. I used to be in the position of running two companies at once, under the hat of CEO with Global, but also with Pioneer Aerial. So I took Pioneer Aerial from a basement startup company to, a multinational, multi-million-dollar revenue producing company in the space of 2 years, and it got extremely busy doing both. So I'm very pleased to have someone who has that pedigree of experience on the geophysics side. Peter also holds an MBA, and he's very adept to being able to run this type of business, and that's a hard thing to replace. We always joke about how much more work we could get done if we could clone ourselves, but Peter brings a lot of management assets and experience into Pioneer that really complements the management side of the business and will help that grow. So it's been a great change.
Yeah. And I'll say it has been a real pleasure working with the air crew in the last few weeks, and they're very quick to respond, and we also see a lot of their hard work and due diligence being paid off within the company. So it's been a real pleasure working with them. My final question, Mike, for you: why is now a good time to consider UAV as a value proposition in investing?
Yeah, that's a great question. We, as a company, UAV has not stopped and taken a breath and slowed down over the last year. We've grown extremely rapidly in terms of acquisitions. We've closed them all. Everything that we announce and we say we're going to do in terms of if we go after something and make that public, we close the deal. And we're, I think by now, we're gaining a reputation of a management team that gets things done and delivers on what they say they're going to do. We've built a vision for the company, and we have a goal, and achieving that in the steps that we've done so far has been successful. Now, if you look at it from an investment perspective, the value of the company continues to grow. The market perception of the company, I think right now we're dealing with fairly volatile market conditions globally. And that's because of some metrics that are obviously outside of the control of any company that's listed there on the exchanges. But we also are in a very strong position to push through this type of volatility. And that's because we're a micro-cap company right now. We have really strong revenue. We have a growing core of very supportive, long-term, influential shareholders, and that have been, quietly accruing their positions, and really are standing behind us in our vision of what we're going to do. We're having a really strong response to the financing. It's going well, and we have a real growth vision for the company that is going to bring a lot of value. If you look at how we structured the acquisitions in Global UAV, they're very share heavy deals. So the new global partners that have come in, Robert and Jeremy and myself through Pioneer Aerial, we all hold a lot of equity in the company, and there's significant incentive there to not be here just for the cash paycheck, and that's not our job. We're building something that is bigger than any one of us could do on our own as a group. So going forward in the future, this is a really exciting transition period, because right now we're in the throes of just starting to experience what the vertically integrated team can do versus what individual companies could do last year. And it's an order of magnitude larger in scale in terms of the clients we're bringing in for our services side, in terms of the dollar amount of the contracts that we're securing, but also in terms of the opportunities we're able to exploit. So this goes back to things like looking at government procurement contracts and being able to work with larger organizations in developing not just a drone system to sell to them, but an unmanned solution for their company and for their business, so that they save money, they increase safety margins, they're doing something innovative, and we're a company that can help them realize that goal. So it's a really exciting time for our investors currently, and I convey that it's an equally exciting time for someone new that's coming into the company today.
Mike, is it safe to assume that Global UAV is transitioning from 2017 into 2018 from a company that really had its roots in the mining and the Procyon engineering manufacturing verticals, and is now looking to maybe transform the company and diversify its offerings to also a search, rescue, and military operations?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a product on the drone side with the Procyon that's a really industry leading system, and its versatility is kind of key to what it makes it a successful product. The advantages that you get with a single rotor helicopter over a multi-rotor for us as a business are a couple things. One, it outperforms any multi-copter on the market in a similar class size. So for a similar dollar amount and a similar size or weight of system, you get just unmatched performance. So all of a sudden you're able to, as a user of that system or a customer, someone that's flying the helicopter, you get more airtime. So if you're running a business that depends on using a drone, you want to have a sensor in the air. That's going to make you money, or that's going to allow you to do things like deliver packages further, or survey more area, or fly in more adverse weather conditions than you would ever be able to do with the multicopters. So the technology side is something that as a company we're really focused on doing something that no one else is. The other aspect is that it's a very untouched market. The multi-copter market is quite saturated. There's a lot of very good systems out there that consumers can buy. Access to them is simple. There's a lot of companies doing it, and it's a very competitive marketplace. The helicopter end of the drone market is kind of the Wild West right now. There's a lot of companies out there saying they have great systems. A lot of them are based on the same type of modified RC hobby helicopters that are loaded with batteries and they throw an autopilot in it and they call them a drone. That's not what we're doing. This is a ground up designed platform that's tailored to professional survey grade sensors as payloads, but also it's really pushing what can be done in terms of efficiency and all the other aspects of what you need to do to be competitive in the space.
Finally, Mike, we have covered a lot of information today. In fact, this is probably the longest discussion and interview you and I have done to date. But is there anything that I did not ask you that you would like to share with listeners and shareholders of Global UAV?
I think we covered a lot of what I can say. So I would say at this point, no, I think we covered everything we can.
Well, very good. Well, I will let you go and let you rest after a long week of travel. But thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you again next time.
My pleasure, Trevor. Thanks a lot.